Here is our warm-up for today. We're going to simplify by combining like terms. We've reviewed this already, so this should have been a pretty simple problem. Remember, like terms do have to have the same variable, and that variable or variables have to have the same exact exponent as well. So looking at number 1, I'm going to be able to combine my 3xy with the negative 9xy. Well, 3 minus 9 is negative 6xy. So I'm going to cross them out because I used them up. 4x plus x, well, those are like terms because they both just have an x, so plus 5x. It's your final answer for number 1. Number 2, we have quite a few more terms, so we just need to start collecting our like ones. So I'll start with the first one with the highest exponent. So 3x squared. I look for any other x squareds down the line, and I run into another one here. Well, 3x squared and a negative 2x squared make 1x squared. We don't need that one, so just x squared. Again, I'm going to cross them out because I used them. Now, we do want to try to keep these in standard form since they're all just x's. So I'm going to look at my 4x next, look down my line, and see if there's any other plain old x's. There's one at the end there. So add 9x makes 13x. And then, like I said, cross them out because we used them up. Now I'm down to just numbers. Well, numbers can always be put together. So negative 7 plus 8 is a positive 1. So there's your answer for number 2. And it's already in standard form because we went from highest exponent to lowest exponent. Checking your homework answers. We were writing the first ones into standard form and then classifying by degree and by number of terms. So highest exponent to lowest, making sure you take your positive and negative signs with you. Number 4, one term, it's already in standard form, the cubic monomial. Don't forget number 2, anything that has more than 3 terms is just referred to as a polynomial. Numbers 6 through 14, be careful about these because they're not written in standard form necessarily, and you're always looking for your highest degree. Didn't circle that one. Here's your highest degree for that one. And again, if it helps you, you could rewrite it. If it doesn't, then you don't need to. Remember, if it's an odd exponent, your signs will be different. If it's an even exponent that's the highest, they'll both be the same. And if it's a positive coefficient, then that means our right side is up and the left side is down. If it's a negative coefficient with a odd number, remember negative people bring you right down and then the left is the opposite, so it goes up. Even exponents, if it's a positive, they both go up. And if it's a negative, then they both go down. So check through here carefully and make sure you have all of your answers graded. And then unpause when you're done checking. Today we're going to do a refresher on multiplying polynomials. We've kind of covered this skill in chapter 2 with i's and with variables, so we'll just do a few together and then you'll have the rest of class to practice on this. You can check your answers with the answer key, and then whatever you don't get done is homework for tonight. So looking at the first one, we have 6v times 2v plus 3. Well, I only have one term being multiplied to 2, so we're simply going to distribute. Well, 6v times 2v, that's 12v squared. And then we multiply 6v times 3, which is 18. There's no like terms here, so there is your product. Going over, let's look at a negative number, so we're going to go down to number 4. This time we're still distributing, but we have a negative 4 that we're going to distribute. So we go negative 4 times v, which is negative 4v. And then we have negative 4 times 1. Keep in mind, since I'm multiplying by a negative, this sign is going to change, become the opposite. Since it's a plus, it's going to switch to a minus, because negative 4 times 1 is a negative 4. So that's when we just distribute, and again, we've done that multiple times. Now let's look at 2 terms times 2 terms. Remember that when we have 2 terms, they are referred to as binomials. So in number 5, when I have 2 binomials being multiplied, we're going to use FOIL. So we're going to go 2n times 6n, which is 12n squared. Then we go 2n all the way to the end of the second parenthesis. 2n times 1 is 2n. Well, that's the first term being distributed, so now we move to the second one. 2 times 6n, that turns into a positive 12n. And then we still need to take the last 2 times 1, which is 2. Remember, part of FOIL is that there should always end up being some like terms. So we look in the middle generally, which thankfully seems to happen again here. They're both just an n, so we can combine them together. So we have 12n squared plus 14n plus 2. Scrolling on down, we're just going to try one more together before you start practicing on your own. And we're going to scroll all the way down. Let's look at number 13 really quick. We did talk about this type of problem in vertex form when we saw that square. When you square something, it means you multiply it by itself. So in the case of 13, before you start simplifying that or multiplying, you're going to go 4p minus 1. You're going to write it not just one time, but twice. And then it becomes just like the other problems. So moving on, we're going to go down to number 19. Starting with 19, we're taking 2 terms and multiplying it to 3 terms. Or even on 21 and 22, they wrote it backwards, but it's still the same exact process. The biggest thing is you have to make sure you distribute everything in the first parenthesis to everything here. And that's why it's so important to draw your lines. So the first parenthesis, I have 4a. Well, 4a times 6a squared. 4 times 6 is 24. A times a squared becomes an a cubed. We then go 4a times negative a. So that's negative 4, and then a times a is a squared. And then 4a all the way to 2 at the end. And 4a times 2 is a positive 8a. So now we've taken everything in the first parenthesis. So we move to the next thing, which is a 2. So we go 2 times 6a squared. So that turns into 12a squared. Then we have 2 times negative a. So that's negative 2a. And then we have 2 all the way to the end, 2 times 2, which is 4. And now we just look for our like terms. Remember, we do want to write these in standard form, so we start with the highest exponent to the lowest. Well, the first one I run into is an a cubed. If I look at my entire rest of the list, there are no other a cubes, so it's simply going to be 24a cubed. Again, if it helps you out, feel free to cross it out. Now I look for my next highest exponent, which is the negative 4a squared. So I look for any other a squareds. There's 1. So those are the only 2. So it's negative 4 plus 12. So that becomes a positive 8. When we're adding and subtracting, we do not change the exponents, only when multiplying and dividing. I'm going to cross them out. So I have an a cubed and a squared, which means next I'm just looking for a. So here's my next a. So I look at what's not been crossed out yet for any other a's. Here we go. Well, 8a minus 2a, that's going to make a positive 6a. Cross them out. And then looking at my list, and this is why it's helpful to cross out, all that's left is that positive 4 at the end. So I'm going to bring that positive 4 down and put plus 4. And now we have it in standard form, and none of them are like terms, so we're done. So again, you're going to work on this the rest of the class. Check the answer sheet as needed, or the answer key, and then finish for homework what you don't get done.